from the former convent of the Good Shepherd overlooking Inwood Hill Park in New York City. Welcome to Inwood Artworks On Air. It's where we meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home what we affectionately call Upstate Manhattan. I'm your host, Aaron Sims, and this is Live and Local. It's our podcast dedicated to showcasing the musicians of Upper Manhattan. We talk with them about what they do, and best of all, listen to them perform live in one of our favorite local venues. Today, we are excited to speak with musician Jimmy Delgado. Jimmy is best known for his timbale playing. However, he is well versed in all elements of Latin percussion. With a career spanning over 5 decades, he has played with Ray Barretto's big band, Eddie Palmieri, Tito Puente, Harry Belafonte, and many others. His debut album in 2004 was Salsa con Dotzura, but just released a new single, Algun, Lugar, Bajo el Sol, this past February on his latest album, Mis Mentores, To My Mentors, just out now. We are thrilled to have him as a guest today on Live and Local and are thrilled to hear him play live for you now. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Delgado. Jimmy, that was great. Thank you so much for bringing in your instruments.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
You bet. You bet. How you been?
I've been good. Thank you.
It's nice to be out, right, and doing something.
Yes, absolutely.
Been cooped up for 2 years.
That's right.
Well, can you tell us what you just played for us?
I play the timbales. It's a drum that was created in Cuba, and it derives from the timpani. And Tito Puente is one who made that a very famous drum. And, of course, I had the pleasure of working with him many years ago, and he was really an outstanding timbale player.
Yep. I'm curious, did you start out as a timbalero, or was that something you graduated to from playing bongos when you were younger? Did you all do it at the same time? What was your inspiration? How did you find your way to it?
Well, my cousin had an album entitled Hard Hands by Ray Barretto, and it featured a great timbalero by the name of Orestes Vilato, and he's in a film called Our Latin Thing, and he's performing there with the Fania All-Stars, and that really got to me. His playing was so good. I mean, I fell in love with the timbales.
Wow, that's great. And when did you pick it up? When did you start playing?
I started when I was in the 7th grade in the school band.
See, for those of you who think band geeks, nothing comes of it. Case in point here, Jimmy Delgado, all right? Made a whole career out of it. I read somewhere that your early influences were Nicky Marrero, Andy and Jerry Gonzalez, and Little Ray Romero. What did you take away from them to help shape your playing of the timbales?
Well, when I was at the East Harlem Music School, it was run by Mr. Johnny Colon. That's where I met Andy and Jerry and Nicky. And Andy, there was a time that I took bass lessons with Andy Gonzalez, and he would tell me, listen to this record, listen to this other record. And so they sort of guide me, you know, and tell me who to listen to, what things to listen to, what not to listen to, you know. So I learned from that, from them.
Could you tell us now who to listen to?
Yeah, a lot of old Cuban albums. Arsenio Rodriguez. He was a guitar player. He played the Cuban Tres, it's called, and he had a band in Cuba, and it was a really fantastic band.
Awesome. We can find that on Spotify or iTunes. Where can you find that?
I think so.
or in a music shop somewhere in vinyl, maybe.
Yes.
Well, speaking of influences, I understand you just released a new album this March called "Ba-da-da." Look at folks, it's a real CD. You can't, if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see it obviously, but I'm holding up Mis Mentores, to my mentors. It's distributed by Primo Discos. How'd that come together?
Well, it started when the COVID began, and was kind of bored, and I said, it's time that I do another album. So I started it that way.
And how did you choose the material? What was the process of choosing what songs? Like did you made sure like not too many from one or the other, try to have a wide diaspora to choose from?
Yeah, well, I did a concert, and I think I produced a concert at Lehman Center, and we did a tribute to the original singer of Eddie Palmieri. His name was Ismael Quintana. And there was a song that Eddie Palmieri recorded. There's two. There's one early song that he recorded, and then there's another one, and I turned it into a medley. And that was one of the songs that we recorded. We played at Lehman Center, which was a tribute to Ismael.
Awesome. And your first single is a Tony Bennett cover, correct?
Yeah,
or you both covered it.
Yes, I believe so. Tito Rodriguez was the first one who recorded
Gotcha.
it, and then Tony Bennett recorded it in English.
Right. Gotcha. And now you brought it back to Spanish.
Yes.
There you go. See how it's very secular.
Yeah.
Although he might not make your mentor list, I think a career highlight would be you spent 5 years playing with Harry Belafonte, right?
Yes.
I mean,
That was a really great experience. I played 3 congas. I had the bongos set up on a stand and the timbales. And the good thing about that gig is that I didn't have to carry any of my instruments because it belonged to Harry. So I didn't have to carry anything. Everything was set up for me to perform and to do the sound check. So I was happy about that.
Heck yeah. Cartage, I mean, for those of you who don't know, cartage is a real deal in the city. When you're schlepping the percussion from gig to gig.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
How many subway stairs have you done in your time?
Many, since I was 16.
And people have whole setups, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's timbales, you're getting off easy compared to some people.
Yes. So that was a good thing about that gig with Harry. I think any other gigs that I did or traveled to, I didn't have to carry anything, just my clothes, my luggage. That's it.
Right.
It was set up for me on the stage, and it was great. I just had to. I didn't have to worry about hurting myself carrying my instruments.
How about the music itself? Like any fond memories from playing?
It was very interesting. How Harry interacted with the audience. It was awesome. I learned a lot from him, and he comes from theater, so he's
a showman.
Yeah, so it was interesting how he performed and how the band performed behind him, how we backed him up.
The big sound.
Well, it was a smaller band that I was in. I was there for 5 years. They had a guitar player, a keyboard player, a drummer, a bass player, and 2 backup vocalists.
Okay, so it wasn't that
it wasn't really that big.
So it wasn't like a big band kind of thing supporting him. Gotcha.
But it was interesting, and it was good, and it was good music, and it was nice. I enjoyed it.
Well, you also spent a lot of time with Tito Puente. Didn't you play on and off with him?
I was sub for
recording.
Yeah, I was sub for Johnny Rodriguez, who was the band leader, if you will, who when he couldn't make it, he would call me to cover for him. So that was a great.
It's a good phone call to get.
Oh yeah, I always enjoyed subbing for Johnny because I got to play with Tito Puente.
And what did you tell me before you were playing with the Blue Note?
Yeah, that was the last time that I played with Tito was at the Blue Note. I think it was in February of 2000, and that was the last time that I played with Tito Puente.
Wow. Well, it's you've seen a lot over the years, and I've witnessed a lot of people and groups come and go. How has Latin jazz changed in the time span from when you came out to where it is now?
I think Latin jazz has expanded. It has grown. It gained a fan base. Because when I started out, the Latin jazz wasn't so popular as it is now. So it has grown. Yeah, I would say that.
I think so too. The internet's helped quite a bit too, and also I think America itself has gotten more bilingual as well, which I think has helped. And people, hopefully, cultures are clashing and creating in a good way, right?
Yes, of course, absolutely.
You know, and so it brings some more love to all the communities. Are there any particular? I know you mentioned some of your influence before, but are there any particular young players out now you've caught and you dig?
Wow, there's a lot of young timbaleros out there that are very good. I mean, I'm not an arranger. Can't sit down on a piano and
sure.
But there are a few out there who are really studying music and theory and all that, and they're very good, and their chops are really good. So there's a lot of guys out there who are really taking it to that next level.
And are there any advice to anybody seeking out to who perhaps doesn't have the background, who wants to get into it? You had schools you went to as well. And
yes.
So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I would advise any young player to listen to a lot of the old stuff, old recordings, and learn who the musicians were. And everything is not about speed. It's about swing. I think that's what I believe. Everybody wants to be technically like a musician, and and it's not like that. You gotta know how to play with the rest of the band, and not play too loud or try to show off. It's not about that. It's about music. You're playing music because of music, not because you want to show off and think you could imitate Tito Puente or anybody like that. It's about music. So you can't put your ego out there. You got to just think about how the music is going to sound and how you can contribute to making it sound nice and pleasant.
Great advice. Be a part of the band. Don't be the band.
Exactly.
Cool. Now that things are hopefully opening up a bit, you have this new album out. Are you going to go play live? Are you going to set anything up to help get the music out there? Because the music industry has really changed, in the past 20 years too. It's like, people are making their bank by gigging out instead of, record sales so much. So just curious if you have any plans for the summer or later in the year to
I believe next year we're planning to do a concert at Lehman Center.
Okay.
See how that turns out. And whoever wants to hire the band, the music speaks for itself. It's very danceable, and it's good music.
Well, folks, the album again is called A Mis Mentores, Jimmy Delgado. It's available through Primo Discos, and you can probably stream it too, right?
Yeah, it's on all the platforms.
There you go, folks. There you go. Mm-hmm. Well, Jimmy, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise.
Before we say goodbye, where can people go to find out more about your current and forthcoming projects?
Well, they can go to my Facebook page. It's Jimmy Delgado Salsa, and you can go in there and you can see a lot of old photos that I have there as well.
Awesome. Well, folks, do yourself it's a pleasure listening to this new album. I've listened to it. It's on YouTube as well. I listened to the tracks on YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's phenomenal. It'll get you up dancing. It'll make you feel good.
It will.
Well, listeners, you can find the description, a link to the description in this episode of Jimmy's Facebook page. Thank you again, Jimmy, for joining me.
Well, thank you
on this special edition of Live and Local here on Inwood Artworks On Air. And again, it's where we meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home here in Upper Manhattan. If you have a moment, please show us some love right now by rating and reviewing this podcast on Apple Podcasts. It really does help. Many thanks to Church of Good Shepherd.